Okay. All right. Well, first I want to say thank you all for joining us. This has been a long time in the planning. We first met with Pork Rind about a year ago. It was actually, I think, maybe even more than a year ago. We were talking about having him as a keynote speaker at our expo, and one thing after another were kind of morphed, and we were talking about, he was like, what are your needs? What do you see for your membership, what they would like to have? And that kind of morphed into marketing, because I hear this a lot. People have a hard time. They want these cattle, and we all know they multiply, and they multiply fast. Maybe not quite as fast as pigs, but they still, multiply. So we have to have a plan for that. And then, developing a market, and what do you do with those animals? How do you sell them? How do you market them? But develop your beef business, so on and so forth. So my passion when I first started Dexters, I honestly, God, I just was going to have a cow and a calf and have milk, and that's it. And next thing I know, I think we maxed out at like 44 before I realized I needed to backtrack. But that first few years, we were really in the hole financially. They just weren't making us any money until I was more intentional with it. And so I've spent a long time, doing my own marketing research and learning for myself. And I have a real passion for that. And I want to incorporate that into what we're doing here with Pork Rind, because he's also really great at that too. So that was kind of the plan. And we spent the last year meeting with myself, Carol, Lacey, and just going over a plan. Every month we would meet and plan these sessions out and cater it to things we've heard from you guys as our members, and what you want, what you need, and what you'd like from us from an association, and how we can help you. So I think that we're off to a good start. This is going to be a great 8-week session. So I hope you guys can join us for all of them. And if you miss anything, we'll be having them, as you see, recorded, and we'll be able to put them up on our YouTube channel for viewing at a later date as well. So thank you again for joining us. I'm pretty excited. So did you want to take over, Pork Rind?
Yes, I think I can do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Kimberly. I appreciate you. All right, folks. I'm really excited about this, partly because we've been planning this since February. It's been a very long time coming. And I'm just really grateful, blessed, highly favored to be able to lead not just tonight, but for the next 7 sessions that we're going to have. But tonight's going to be a really interesting and special night because we want to create space for not just me to talk, but for association members to also kind of share their experiences and not just the journey of raising Dexters, but also the business model, business understanding, marketing, branding of their operations when it comes to Dexters as well. One thing I really appreciate about Kimberly's story is it reminds me of my own story where I was literally living off of $500 a month while farming, and I was one injury away from being in utter financial ruin. I allowed stress to get to me. I was very manic. I was depressed. I had a lot of anxiety. I was doing everything in my own strength. I wouldn't let people help me. And so that led to a lot of self-harming behaviors, with the alcohol and a couple other things to kind of numb the pain. But the reality was my issue with farming, although I was good at it, although I was trying to be good at the marketing aspect, the branding aspect, I had to also learn to have good character. I also had to learn to ask for help. And so during this session, we're going to really talk about the power of asking for help. Part of the reason why I'm here is to be of assistance to you. So that way we can create space where if there's something that's going on, like, man, I don't know how to market this particular product. Should I go beef? Should I go breeding? Should I go milk and dairy? Should I do something different from all that? We want to be able to create space for you to ask questions. So that's going to be out throughout the entire session series that we're going to have. But for today, we're going to talk with Miss Stephanie, Miss Danny, and Miss Nancy, and they're going to share their experience, strength, and hope when it comes to not just simply raising Dexter cattle, but also being able to be profitable and marketable with their Dexters as well. So I got a couple of questions, and if y'all are ready, I will start asking them. So I'd like for both, in this order, Miss Stephanie, Miss Danny, Miss Nancy, in that order, to introduce yourself really quickly. How long have you been raising Dexters, and why did you get into the breed? And we're going to do 2-minute shares. So in just a minute, I'm going to start the little timer, and that we can keep track of time. So Miss Stephanie, whenever you're ready, let me know.
Ready, set, go.
Yeah, go for it.
My name is Stefani Millman. I am in Washington State, been here my whole life. I raised horses and did that for 23 years. And then got out of horses and was bored looking for something to do. Started showing chickens. We won the nationals with 2 breeds of chickens, but there's only so much you can do with a chicken. That was sort of boring. So I ran into a girlfriend that had Herefords, old horse girlfriend. She was having a blast at the Cow Palace in Reno. And Herefords were too big. Highlands were too hairy. I wanted something small. Aberdeen Angus was not on the docket yet. They weren't here when I started. In fact, I couldn't even find Dexters in Washington State. But I did find a breeder in California and hauled my first 3 Dexters in from Elko, Nevada, over 20 years ago in the back of my Frontier Nissan pickup with a canopy down the highway, and little suckers fit. It just that was it. That was it. And I started showing. Well, I didn't start showing because there were no shows. So I started exhibiting at fairs. I asked if I could just have a corner and set up and introduce what a Dexter was. And the more fairs I did, the more people ran into me and said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Dexters for years." And my thing with a horse was always, "You need a horse," and they'd go, "Yeah, like I need a hole in my head." And you say to someone that's passing by, "Hey, you need a cow," and they go, "I do. I love cows." I don't get it. People love cows. I don't. It's cool. So, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I just kind of blew up from there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Miss Stephanie. Appreciate the share. All right, next up, we got Miss Danny. Whenever you are ready. And
I'm ready.
Perfect.
Okay, my name is Danny Collins. I've been raising Dexters for 10 years as Jesse's Hill in Tennessee. Originally, I'm from Germany. I apprenticed in equine breeding and husbandry back in the 80s. So that's when my professional life with horses started. All in all, I guess I must have spent 40 years with horses. In 2005, I went through a divorce in Germany and via Iraq came to the States. I didn't really know anything about the US. I mean, I had the passport, that was fine. My husband and we went trucking because honestly, a study of literature and it really doesn't pay the bills. And I didn't want to do computers anymore, so why not? And at some point, we had enough, and I just said, you know what? I want to raise horses again, which wasn't very profitable at the time. So when we came here and we wasted a lot of money on the horses, I thought, okay, something has got to pay on this farm. And what about cows? So I really, really like the idea of smaller cows, and I like the idea of breeding. I know I'm a breeder. I know how to read a pedigree. I know it takes time. I know you have to have patience. And with cows versus horses, you can eat your mistakes. And that's how I got into Dexter's. And yeah, still having fun with it.
Thanks for sharing, Miss Danning. And yeah, I completely agree with the be able to eat your mistakes. Because the best camp is freezer camp. So always remember that. All right, next up is Miss Nancy.
She's
Miss
on
Nancy?
mute.
Uh-oh.
She's on mute. Hold on. Can you unmute her? Oh, there you go, honey.
Oh,
Okay.
there she is.
Okay, I just wanted y'all to read my lips, that's all. All right, sorry. I'm Nancy Bowers. I have Lone Star Ranch down here in Taylor, Texas. I have a history in horses as well, just like the two other people. I've always had my place called Lone Star Ranch. So whenever I got into cattle, I just added the Dexter Cattle to it. So breeding horses is how I did ag exemption for many years. Well, I got tired of breeding horses. I got tired of seeing horses that were starved or abused, especially horses that I had raised. So I wanted to find another ag exemption avenue. My neighbor at the time had bought some land that had some Dexters on it. I decided, well, what are these cows? He said, well, I got these cows inherited from the land when I bought it. So he knew nothing of these cattle. So I said, well, I bought those cows. So I bought these cows. He handed me some papers. And I was like, I don't know what anything about these cows. I had no idea, never had cows, but I put them on the land, got my ag exemption. Well, I decided, hey, I kind of like these cows. They're smaller, they're gentle. I was reading about the Dexter breed online. I was like, wow, okay, maybe I like these cows. And then they started eating all my property, my shoreline, making everything look really nice. I was back against a reservoir. And the more I got on Facebook and saw all these other people with their Dexters, it inspired me to want to have even better Dexters, to do even more stuff with Dexters. I got out of showing horses, started showing my first Dexters, came out of the ring with the first place. I was so like, wow, all right, cool. So, and like Danny said, I can eat my cattle. I don't have to worry about selling them and ending up starved and abused like I did my horses. So now my poor horses just sit in the pasture getting ignored, and my cattle get all the attention. So that's pretty much where I am.
Sweet. I love it. I love it. And I think it's interesting that all y'all are horse people. As a former breed association manager, horse people were very interesting people. So be able to see like some wholesome, down to earth horse people is really refreshing. And if you're a horse person and you're offended by it, it's probably because you're not that. Anyways, all right, next question that I have for y'all, and some of y'all have pointed on this a little bit about how Dexters are pretty unique compared to Angus and some of the other larger breeds, or even some of the more trendy breeds that are out there. So my question to y'all is, what is the competitive advantage and the advantage of the land by having Dexter compared to any of the other breeds that you might have considered in the past? And I will also put that question in the chat. All right. And also, if you're in the chat, feel free to also answer that question, even if you're not a panelist. Just type your little response in, and I might read some of them during our intermissions. So first up is Miss Stefani.
Oh, there we go. Huh. Well, it doesn't sound like the other panelists, and I don't know how many people here have raised other breeds of cattle or been around other breeds of cattle. And that's a big deal, I will tell you what. I've had other breeds on my property. I've done a lot of crossbreeding. So I have had full-blown milk cows on my property. I have had Herefords. I have had Angus. I have had Pinzgauer. When you've got those big breeds, you learn to appreciate the Dexter cattle. And I tell you, this sounds ridiculous, but what's really nice is their poops are not as big as those big cows. When you go to clean that stuff up, man, I'm telling you what, wow. But I learned a lot looking at the other breeds, and because the other breeds, you guys need to stop and look at the other breeds. It's the uniqueness with the Dexter. Sure, they're unique, but they're not great. there's a lot of improvement to be done on the Dexter breed. And that's what I strive to do, is improve the breed. That's all I've ever done. But look at other breeds. Look at beef cattle and the width between their legs and the angle of their hooves. And look at those milking cattle and the support on their udders. This is what I've learned from having other breeds. What is unique from the Dexter, though, truly is the dual purpose, truly is. You can have them on less land. We don't have a lot of land in Washington State, I tell you what. You can, people think they want to milk until they actually have to. But there are some people out there that will do it and they find they love it. They love it and they miss it when they don't have it, when they're not milking that cow at that time. But they also are, they're a funny breed. I mean, as previous horse owners, Nancy and Danny, the challenge with the Dexter cow versus other breed of cattle, the Dexters are more fun, are they not? You know, we had challenges with our horses, and the Dexters train up easy. It's fun to train them. It's fun to mess with them. They're curious. They're into things. They got energy. This is what makes them unique, and that people can own them, and that women can handle them, and elderly can handle them.
Thanks, Ms. Stephanie. I especially like those two last comments. As someone who's raised both Angus and Dexters were way more easy to manage for anybody. We got Kevin from No Lack Farms. His response to the question was feed conversion and non-pickiness on pasture. They eat forbs and fodder. Brangus won't touch. I like that a lot. All right, next up is Miss Danny.
So no, I have not had any experience one-on-one with other cattle, except being an intern at the vet in Germany and going to dairy farms there and just seeing mostly the hind ends of Holstein and Brown Swiss to AI. But I will say that I was crazy enough to buy a 17-year-old little cow who was more or less a rescue case because I'm just idiotic at times. And I took her to the vet to have her feet trimmed because where she had lived all her life, it was flat, it was soft soil. And she never had the opportunity to actually maintain her hooves herself. So I'm standing there with this little 17-year-old chondro carrier and at my vet, and they have 10-foot panels. And the top panel was bent down. And I'm looking up there and I'm asking, who is that? And my vet says, oh, share label. And all I could do was pet my little cow and say, yeah, we're not going to do that, are we? No, 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 no. And then I led her into the chute, and they were flabbergasted that I led my cow into the chute, because that's what you do. You lead your cow, right? Or when the AI tech came and said, oh man, I love being here because your cows are so easy and they're so nice and they're just, that's all I know. And I wouldn't want to have it any way else. So yeah, but that doesn't mean that I haven't had a stinker or two that wanted to run real fast into freezer camp, and that's what they did. So yeah, I don't have any experiences with other breeds, thankfully.
Listen to that, y'all. She said, thankfully. That's a statement right there. That says something. We got Mr. John. He says his answer to the question is, we like Dexters because of the smaller size, which fits well with our small 7-acre farm. The smaller carcasses weights are easier to sell. I like that. I like hearing that. And Miss Kimberly said, they do not beat up your pasture like large breeds. And Miss Carol says they are respectful of fencing. I like that. All right, it's Nancy. You're up next.
All right, I am going to have to agree with Stephanie and Danny on some things. I too enjoy having the halter broke animal to be able to lead in to the veterinarian when they come. It's nice to have farm visits where you can lead a cow over and let the new Dexter people that are interested in Dexters be able to pet them and realize they see their size, they see their gentleness. Now all of my Dexters are ambassadors for the breed. I have some experience with other small breeds. My dad does have some mini belted Galloway crosses over there, and currently his coming 8-year-old bull has a torn ACL and is going to go to freezer camp, where my 13-year-old bull is doing his job just fine and in perfect shape and has bred a lot more cows. So that's a tribute to the stamina and the sturdiness of a good Dexter. I also, when I first started, had some shorthorns over here to breed to my first bull I had. And this is before I knew anything about breeding other people's cattle and diseases or anything like that. And those shorthorns ate twice as much hay as my Dexters. I did not charge nearly enough to the person I was breeding his cattle to. So I was like, nope, never again. So I learned that about the Dexters. I also like the smaller carcasses. They're easier to sell to people. They're more affordable for people. They don't have to have as big of a freezer when they buy a half a cow from you. And I can do a tribute to the women Kenomis. I do about 95% of my own work with the cattle. I do blood draws. I do the tattooing. I do ear tagging, the halter training. I lead them and load them in my trailer. I take them places all by myself because these cattle are so easy to handle. So that's my tribute to these Dexters. Are awesome little cows.
Thanks for sharing, Miss Nancy. Appreciate it. And oh, looks like we got a response from Rita. She says, I love our Dexters because I am older and they are just so easy to handle and so gentle. Being smaller, they fit in our freezer better. So what I'm hearing is easy to handle, easy on the feed bill, easy on the fencing, easy on the pasture, and I also dare say easy on the heart. So I'm loving all this. This is great. This is great. So next question is this, from our panelists. There's definitely an indication that y'all have certain specialties, certain niches. So my question to y'all is, how did you determine your niche, how you're going to specialize with Dexters? And then what is some advice you would give to a newcomer cattleman or woman on finding their own niche when it came to Dexters as well? And we're going to start with Miss Stefani.
I just unmute very well. You skipped some, and now I don't know where I am on my piece of paper. So this is our niche question.
Yeah, number
Yeah,
5.
I have it in the chat. I have it in the chat.
Niche. Well, as far as niche market goes, I think best described to me as a mentor, Hereford breeder for 50 years and president of the Hereford Association. Says, I tell you where you're at with your niche market, particularly here in Washington State, is we have all these high dollar people out here. And I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything, but we've got Amazon, we've got Boeing. Who else do we have out here, Lise? We got all these big multi-billion-dollar places and people, and things are really expensive out here. And he says, here's where you're at. These people with money now remember being on the farm at grandpa's and loving the cows, and now they can go own one. They're older now. They can handle one. They've got less land. And he says, you got a niche market because you can cater to these rich people who want to get back to grandpa's farm. For me personally, my niche is just to improve the breed. I'm not out digging for anything. I'm just trying to improve it here on my property. I go beyond. I like to judge. I like to classify. I like to teach people to classify. I do a lot of that. And I'm looking for conformation disposition. I take and know stats of milking and butter fat. And one of my superpowers is looking at a Dexter in the field and telling you how much wrapped meat's going to be in the freezer off of that cow. It's just personally, I do the stats and pay attention to what I'm doing and improving and knowing what I'm breeding from start to finish. From butcher time, I am in, they're born, I raise them, I'm there when they shoot them, and I'm in the cooler when they're wrapped. So I have a good idea of that carcass.
Amen. Amen. All right, Miss Dana, you're up next. And for our audience members, I put the question in the chat. So if you would like to answer this question as well, just respond in the chat, and I might just share your response out with everybody else. So you're up next, Miss Dana.
So as I said before, I'm originally from Germany, though I've always had that US passport. So for me, it was, I'm going to breed according to the breed standard. And the breed standard was the small, usually black horned cow that can feed a small family. So that's what I was going to breed. And it was really hard finding that. And it's taken me years to win the trust of some well-known breeders so that they knew I wasn't a fly-by-night. They could give me breeding stock, very, not just monetary value, but you're buying their experience, you're buying their mentorship, you're buying their blood, sweat, and tears so that you can build on that. I think that my niche really is the economically viable cow, regardless if it's a chondro carrier or not. I want a cheap cow to keep. I want an animal that can actually gain weight, that is wide. Calving ease starts at wide hips. So just as an example, you breed just in case there is a 60-pound calf, but you only want the 42-pound calf. But just in case, you breed them wider. As for finding your own niche, visit as many farms as you can, and buy from those people who are very close in what you plan on doing, on what you think you're going to do, but don't die on that hill, okay? Know that things can change. Got it. 2 minutes.
Excellent response, Miss Danny. All right, next up is Nancy.
Well, I am still a little bit searching for my exact niche, but I can say, because I'm a newer breeder and I just kind of jumped into everything, I like to search out different venues. But whenever I was first showing in Houston and people started recognizing my farm name and me, and then started reaching out to me and asking me questions, like I knew what I was doing showing. And I was like, wait, whoa, this is my first time. And they're like, well, you're doing so well. And so it was a driving force to make me learn more and more. So my niche is trying to relate to just the everyday farmer. Here in Texas, I have a ton of people wanting to do small farming. They want to raise their own cattle on their own land, and they have maybe 5 or 10 acres. So I try to cater to those people. I try to reach out to them, mentor them, answer their questions, let them know I'm there. I try not to be intimidating or make them feel that they can't succeed. And so I breed to have better cattle that will gain weight easier on this crummy grass we have here in Texas and make it through these droughts and still look good. Because a lot of people's cattle and Texas here lose a lot of weight with all our droughts and not having a lot of grass. So it's nice to have Dexters that can keep the weight on less hay than those bigger animals. So I try to breed these better cattle with put on weight, like Danny said, and gentle and easily halter broke. So people will want to reach out to me to buy cattle from me because they see what I'm doing and they want that too. They're like, well, I want those cattle. I want to be like that. And I said, well, here, let me show you how. Come visit my farm. So my niche is more just being a mentor to people. I met you at Mother Earth pork rind with Jennifer Hunt a few years back, and just doing things like that, going to events to get your name out there, let share your love of cattle, and kind of just enthusiates everybody else to want to buy Dexters and do it too.
Amen, sister. And I did not forget that experience. That was a really good one. I got to pet her cows. It was fun. All right. We got a couple of folks. We got Miss Lacey. She said, poor man's family cow. I want something that will prosper on less feed, less land, but still provide a family with milk and meat in one package. I also am very passionate about youth and ag. These smaller animals are ideal getting kids in the door. And then Miss Kimberly said, your niche is what you love about the Dexters. If that's breeding stock, what does it say? Beef and or milk, market what you love and what drove you to raise Dexters. You'll attract like-minded customers. And then Jeff from Royal Fair Farm said, grass-fed, grass-finished beef. All right, I like that. Good responses. All right, next question is about mentorship. Mentorship is really important, and that's one thing that I've noticed with a lot of farmers is we kind of glorify this, I can do it myself, do it from the bootstraps mentality. But the farmers who have been the most successful are the ones who are learning from people with more experience, strength, and hope. So I'm curious with my panelists, what does mentorship look like for you as maybe a mentee or maybe a mentor to somebody? And what are some attributes or characteristics that define a good mentor for our audience? And audience members, I'm going to put this in the chat too, so you can answer that question as well. Go ahead, Ms. Stephanie.
Well, I end up mentoring a lot of people, not because I volunteer, because those people that I have sold to, I just help them all along the way, whether that's questions about their cattle or how do I get rid of them or lining them up with people. But the other thing is for a mentor, and I learned this with other species, there's no one mentor for sure. Mentors can be a beef breeder. Mentor could be a dairy breeder. A mentor can be your hay guy. A mentor is your veterinarian. A mentor is anything you read on Facebook and shake your head at how ridiculous it is. You can go to lots of people for lots of lessons, but you're going to learn something from everybody you reach out to. Everybody, even if it's what not to do, you will learn something. So don't be afraid to reach out to your county extension office. Mentorship can be your feed store. Those guys know a lot more than you give them credit for because they've been there and they know what works and what sells. So mentorship is anyone that'll give you their time.
Excellent response, Ms. Stephanie. I love it. I even love the note about having mentors as people that you shake your head at. My favorite one is going on Craigslist and looking at people who are selling cattle and pigs and just being like, that is a horrible animal. I'm going to make sure that is not what's coming from my farm. So I really appreciate that comment. All right, next up is Miss Danny.
Okay, I think my two main mentors are not close at all. Usually I would advise as having a mentor who's close to you. But as Stephanie said, somebody who will give you the time of day, and be there for you. I think the most important lesson that my main mentor taught me and that I give to everybody that I talk to is identify your beef market. Is it for you? Is it for you and the family? Is it for you, family and friends? That will also put a price tag on your animal, on your culls. Then I've got a mentor that taught me a lot about conformation. And it's conformation because it conforms to the standard or the guidelines, not confirmation. Then I've got somebody, I used to be in dairy goats too, who taught me a lot about udder structure in dairy goats. Conversely, I've been a mentor to a dairy goat breeder by having Dexters. I can't say enough about my extension office. I always encourage folks to go to their extension office, take the courses that they have. They are being paid to help you. What Stephanie said, the feed store, oh my gosh. Hey, are folks seeding grass yet? Or what are you seeing? What are you seeing now? What's going? Should I wait another week? What's the weather forecast? Just networking local. That's big. And in terms of whoever speaks to you can be your mentor for good, bad, or ugly. So, and trust, and one big thing, trust your gut feeling. If it doesn't pass your smell test, walk away.
Amen. Amen. Preach it. All right. Next up is Miss Nancy.
So when I first started out with Dexters, I had zero mentor. I said I got him from the neighbor. He got him from the previous owner of the land. So I had nobody to give me any guidance. So I started out with the ADCA webpage, learning how to register the animals. And because at that time they didn't have the new owner rule, the first owner rule. So I had no mentor. When I started looking on Facebook pages and looking at other breeders and wanting, hey, I see cattle that I like. So my advice for when you're looking for a mentor, look at people's farms, see what they're doing on their pages. Does that cow look like something you want? Are they doing something with the cow that you would like to do? Being with the horse showing background, I looked at somebody that was showing cattle and wanting to have something friendly and gentle. I saw their grandkids showing cattle. I saw their cattle looking and almost too fat. I was like, shoot, that's what I need for Texas. My cattle don't eat enough grass, have that good grass that they have up here. I need something that's going to gain weight easier. So I reached out to these breeders and bought cattle from them. And I got my first great mentors, that way. And that's how I'm doing similar things. I'm showing cattle. I'm breeding the young heifers. I'm selling beef. I'm doing what my mentor was doing. So my advice is look at other people and say, that's what I want to do. That's the person you should go to. I also, before I had this first mentor, I would reach out to other people on pages, on private messages. Some of y'all might be listening, and I would ask questions that I had no idea, like, oh my God, my bull has teats. Something's wrong with him, because horses do not have teats. So the first male bull I looked at to castrate having teats, I was mortified. Thankfully, the person that messaged me back said, no, you need to be worried if he didn't have teats. So mentors can also be other good breeders you see on Facebook pages that you might feel comfortable reaching out to. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, I got stories for that. I got stories for that. Oh, just remembering some good old times. All right. Trinity Ridge Farm says, as a response to our question today, we were mentored by an experienced breeder here in Kentucky and John Potter, Spruce Grove Farm, when he was still alive. Oh, rest in peace, brother. We now seek to offer mentorship to each new Dexter owner. Qualities, patience, listening, and longevity. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking. I'm gonna heart that one. That's a good one right there. That's a really good one. And then Carol says, I agree with Nancy. Reach out to other breeders for advice. Dexter breeders love to talk about their cattle, and that is a fact. That is a strong fact. Y'all love to talk about your cattle. Amen to that. All right. And here's what I want to do, and Trinity Ridge Farm actually beat me to it. If you are available for mentorship, meaning you feel like you're comfortable enough, you have enough experience where you could help a newbie or someone who's got a little bit of experience in Dexter but want to take it to the next level, feel free to put in your email, what state you're in. If you want to put in your years of experience, that's okay too. But put that in chat. Say, hey, I'm open for mentorship. I live here. Here's how many years of experience I have. And I think that'll kind of help the community grow overall, especially for people who don't have mentorship right now. All right. My next question is going to be about business planning. There's a difference between marketing, branding, and business planning. So we're just talking about business planning. How detailed was your initial business plan when you started raising Dexters, and how has that changed over time? And we're going to start with Miss Stephanie, and I'm going to put the question in the chat too for all y'all.
Well, this is not going to take long because I did not do a business plan. I was looking for something to do. I was bored. Like I say, you can only do so much with chickens. Don't lunge. They don't really pull carts, you know. So I was bored and I got into the cows, and it just, I guess I do plan my program, but for as far as business goes, I've never planned it. This is just a fun, honestly, this is just a fun hobby for me. That's all it is. That's all I got for you, man. Sorry.
There's no problem with that.
Big loser there. Although I
Whatever.
guess I could say I do make it a hobby that pays for itself. So we sell enough steers for beef that'll pay for the hay. Right? I sell enough breeding stock that they kind of pay for themselves. So that you can't ask for much more of that for a hobby. And this truly is a hobby for me.
Amen. Amen. And that's one thing I think is important. Not everyone is in it for full-time income or even part-time income. Sometimes the strategy is I just need it for it to pay for all of its expenses, so that way it doesn't come out of my family's pocket, or I'm using this for tax exemption. So those are also valid reasons why you should get into raising Dexter cattle as well. You don't have to be a full-time farmer to get into Dexter cattle raising. As some encouragement to those who are a little timid about going full-time, Dos Lobos Ranch says, we reached out to one of our, I think this is an answer to the last question. We reached out to one of our bigger Dexter breeders in Texas 6 months before we took the plunge in buying our first cow. And I asked them if they would be okay with helping out to teach a new owner. And we were basically told, move along, kid. We have yet to find a good Dexter mentor, so we've been doing this solo and actually just started mentoring a new Dexter owner this month. All right, so if y'all want to be a mentor to Dos Lobos Ranch, comment to their comment. Let's see, Danny, what you got for us?
Business plan. Oh my gosh. I had sort of this very fluffy idea of, yeah, if in 5 years' time they can pay for themselves and the odd phone bill, I'm happy. And then I made one really, really big mistake, and I was buying cattle left, right, and center, and I was very much taking advantage of that beef market. I put about, so over the years, we bought 18 cattle. The last one just arrived in May. She's probably going to be the last cow we ever bought because we need a genetic outcross. but I must have put $15, $16, $17,000 in the freezer. And I don't know if we're ever going to recoup that. Last year, I think was the first year we broke even. And now I must say I'm at the point where my calves or our calves sell in utero. I have a waiting list. I have learned that the herd needs to stay small so that I can be choosy where they go. I love selling locally because then I can offer things like you can bring my bull back, you can bring your cows back to be bred to my bull if your plans for AI don't work. It's really hard selling cattle to folks I don't know. So I get that part now where I'd rather I'd rather butcher them than sell them. As far as business plan goes, gosh, you know, they feed us and every now and then they pay the phone bill, so I'm happy.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Danny. They pay the phone bill. Yeah, even the phone bill is getting expensive nowadays. All right, Miss Nancy, you're up next.
All right, so when I first got cattle, the Dexters, I didn't really realize what I had, and I had team penned on my horses and cut cattle, so I thought, oh shoot, this will be fun. I'll have these cattle for ag exemption, write off my expenses on my taxes. I'll be able to work my horses with these cattle. So I was going to go drive the cattle from the neighbor's house over to my house with my horses, you know? Okay. Yeah, Dexter Cattle, you don't own those to work horses and train horses. So that plan went out the window. That's what I thought I was going to be doing for these cattle, is team penning and stuff. So then I realized the beef market on these animals, and I was like, well, the Dexters I have are not gaining weight like I would want them to, like I was saying before. So I searched out Dexters that gained weight easier. It cost me less money, even though it cost me more money to buy that cow in the first place. It cost me less money to maintain that cow, and now all their babies cost me less money to maintain them. Last year, when I was doing my taxes and I realized my sales of beef and cattle was way higher than I expected, I made decent money last year on my cattle. I was looking for things to write off as expenses. I'm like, oh no, I made too much money with my cows. I end up being a hoarder a lot of times and not selling heifers, and like, oh, I want this one. Oh, I want this one. Next thing you know, I own these two sisters, those two sisters, and now I got to go get a different bull or AI. So my business plan more is to the beef market now, since I'm not rounding them up with my horses. And I sell to a lot of friends and friends of friends, and that is what is doing really well for me. And then my heifers sell really well because they are beefier for other people that want to do beef on their farms.
Good, good. You're suffering from success now, Nancy. Suffering from success. All right, Trinity Ridge says 13 years ago, we started out without a careful plan. Huge mistake. Quickly realized that if we don't get a grasp on infrastructure, inputs, and carrying costs, it can become a money pit. Now focus on developing local meat sales markets. We love it, but ultimately it's a business, not a charity. Oh, I like y'all. I like y'all. Too many charities being ran out nowadays. All right, last question for the night, because we just had such a good conversation and we're running out of time. What are some effective marketing strategies you've used to promote your Dexters, and how have you adopted these strategies over the years? And next person up is going to be Miss Stefani.
Effective marketing strategies. Well, I focus on myself and my breeding program. I focus on conformation that I like. I focus on production. And I show. I go to as many shows as possible. I started showing at fairs here over the years, and I actually was up to 5 fairs with Dexter shows here in Washington State. And that's pretty tough to do, to get your own show. Marketing at the fairs is huge, 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 huge. There are so many people that go through the fairs and go through those barns, and it gives you such a chance to sit and chit chat with people. And people love to go by and see all the ribbons up behind the cows, all those purple ribbons and blue ribbons and banners, and it really gets them talking. We have people that will come from really miles and other states to see us at the fairs because they'll sit and chat with us about Dexter. So for effective marketing strategies, just pay attention to your breeding program. Really pay attention to your breeding program and get them out there. You have to get them out there.
Amen. Amen. I like it. And the shows are free publicity on top of that. A lot of people don't realize that. It's Danny. You're up next.
Okay, I don't show. I don't show. First of all, I don't show. I've done enough horse showing in my life to last me like forever. I focus very much on the dual purpose aspect. So what I'm doing is I want to effectively sell the house cow, the 4 to 5 gallon cow that has a hanging weight of 500 or 600 pounds at 2 or 3 years of age. I want easy fleshing. Now, did I buy bulls from somebody who showed? Absolutely yes. From national champions? Absolutely yes. Because they went congruent with my philosophy, and I was lucky enough to find them. As for marketing, good photography. That's a big one. Your own website. That's a big one. Facebook pages. Because again, I don't show, but I need the audience. If you don't have a good picture, don't post that day. People want to see sunshine and butterflies, or they want to see cute, or they want to see the look of eagles. If you don't get that kind of picture, don't post it. If you have a problem and you want to post on social media about that problem, honestly ask. Or reach out to those mentors or people that you admire. They'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Everybody loves to talk cattle. We also, this is another thing that we've started last year, we disease test. Because my market is the milking homesteader. I don't see a reason for crossing a Dexter to a Jersey to up the milk production when I can just breed a good Dexter. But again, I also want that hanging weight. That means I'm looking for the responsible dairy owner. And my time is up again.
A lot of good wisdom shared. A lot of good wisdom. Dos Lobos Ranch says, we stole an idea recently from some other grass-fed and finished operation that sells beef online, and that was to mix organ meat. Oh yeah, I know where you're going with this. Mix organ meat into the ground beef and market it as ancestral or primal ground beef. It was a shot in the dark, but we start selling it at 2 local farmers markets, and folks were very excited about it. We sold about equally regular ground and ancestral blend on our first market, and we're able to sell it for $20 a pound for a 5% Oregon blend ground beef. Way to go! That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's keep on going. Next up is Nancy.
All right. So my approach is to marketing. I like to be genuine. I like to be open and personable people. I want to be approachable, so people will want to come and talk to me. So people want to come ask me questions. I want people to feel comfortable with me. And me just being me apparently is good marketing. I have a really positive, outgoing personality. I get excited about little things. I'm happy about little accomplishments. So whenever I'm marketing my animals, I like to put on, of course, Facebook pages. Somehow my Facebook page is Instagram related. I don't know how I did it, but somehow that happens. I actually do put stuff on Craigslist. That's not always the best, but I've actually found some really good people, because there are some people that are not on social media. Some of these really off-grid people, they don't like social media, but they'll get on Craigslist. And I've found a lot of good people that come to me from that aspect. So that is a good niche that you can still look at for your marketing solutions. Again, I've attended Mother Earth. I've attended shows. I have been to conferences, and you put your business cards out there. Get a good logo. Get something that people are going to recognize and go, oh, I've seen that logo before. Mine obviously kind of shows what state I'm in. So, Lone Star, that sounds like Texas. Yep, it's Texas. So those are my good marketing strategies I have for people. And also, don't keep dumping your money into a cow just because you love her. If she looks like crud, eat her. And don't pass her along to somebody else. It's hard to do. I have cried many times culling cows that I did not want to do, but it costs you just as much to feed an old sad cow that's not helping you out as it will be a nice new one. So cull.
Amen.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Who said that?
Just
Oh,
this is Danny. If you don't know how to call, just a trick. So there's your first steer is going to make you cry, okay? Because that's the way it is. And send him along with an animal that you can't stand and ask the butcher to mix the meat. The other thing is, seriously, I've been there. Knowing I had Buster on the plate, I wouldn't be able to eat it. But knowing that there was a chance it was also so-and-so, oh, hell yeah. Give me that steak sauce. Now where was I gonna go with this? Yeah,
Hey, we don't
got
put steak
15
sauce on
seconds.
Dexters.
huh?
We don't put steak sauce on Dexter.
Well, I did back then. But anyhow, yeah. So that's a good one. And if you can't do that, maybe your Dexter neighbor will swap steers with you, so you can eat their steer. And then another thing, you're allowed one pet. You're allowed one pet. And if you really, really have to spend the money on her, you're allowed one pet, and that's fine. But then rationalize the others. That's
Amen.
just sort of what I've learned along the line.
That's wisdom right there. I also like the one of like, yeah, I can't bear to eat this animal, but I can swap out with a neighbor. That makes total sense. All right, folks, we are actually out of time, and it breaks my heart because I want to create a little bit of time for some Q&A from the audience. But grateful for the participation. One thing I really appreciate, and you might notice this when you do a lot of webinars, the participant list has remained at 50 the entire time. People weren't jumping in, jumping out, leaving, which I think says a lot about the quality of membership, but also the quality of our panelists and the quality of the association as a whole. So bravo on being engaged. I really feel honored and respected. And I know the board members and all the other members do as well. But this is not the end of the conversation. We're going to have 7 more sessions where we're going to go one by one with all the different categories, from figuring out what your niche is, creating a business plan, understanding what's the best mentor you can have, to really losing market analytics, data analytics, being able to have an actual brand strategy behind marketing and availability of products, and then also celebrating the successes that you've made along the way. So if that's of any interest to you, I definitely highly recommend coming back next week. We're going to do this every week in a row on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Ms. Kimberly has put in some stuff in the chat, I believe.
So on
And
the, yeah, on the website, we have a interactive member map. And so I put a link there. It's under membership on our website. If you scroll down, you'll see the link or the map. And you can scroll into your state and little blue dots will appear. And those are all paid members in your area. And we are going to be updating that member map to a new format. So it'll like when we toyed with it a little bit. I got it on my Google Maps, and so now every time I go to load my map and I'm driving, I can see where everybody's living. It's pretty wild, but it's a little blue dot. And when it's cool because you can click on it. It gives the member's name, their member number, the phone number, and the address, and then email if you have all that on your pedigree page. And it's for the members. You can find somebody that's close by. And like people have said, people love talking about Dexters. I would just start cold calling people and saying, hey, they're nearby. Do you guys ever do farm tours? I'd like to come meet you and see your cows.
awesome. Thanks, Miss Kimberly. All right, so next week we're going to go over 2 different topics. We're going to go over identifying your niche and also researching your passion. One thing I've noticed with a lot of people who start is that maybe they have a passion, but they don't do a lot of research and realize that their passion, there's no money in it. So we're going to go over how you can leverage your passion, your desires, things that you're really excited about when it comes to Dexters, and being able to leverage that passion with market research, analyzing the data, seeing what's viable, what's not viable, and finding alignment in between those 2 things. So if you're interested in that, definitely join us next week. But other than that, I will let y'all go. And panelists, if you want to stay on and answer any additional questions from the audience, feel free to. And I'll also be on so that way audience members can ask questions if they need to as well. So that I'll pass. I hope you have a great night, and I will see y'all on Wednesday next week.
Hey, thanks, Pork Rind.
Thank
No
you.
problem.